presentation for tonight.
Okay. Before we start, Salam alaikum. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share our ideas. We are presenting from Brussels, so we have 2 hours difference. It's also evening time for us. So very happy to present, to share our ideas, and also to have a discussion at the end of our presentation.
Thank you from my side as well. This is Stijn speaking. Just a little background on the connection between Tom and myself. We've been working together for a while at Cubiks, the company that Tom is still working for as a managing consultant. I, in the meantime, joined Goodyear close to 3 years ago, and I'm heading up talent management. We still work together on quite a few projects, so that's why we thought it was beneficial to share this presentation. We're going to talk about a journey that we're on at Goodyear, and Tom is going to look at it from the consultant perspective. And the goal has been involved in quite a few projects under the talent management umbrella in Europe, Middle East, and Africa that we've been kicking off over the last 3 years, of which many, luckily, have been quite successful. But I've also learned the hard way on a few things, and I'd like to share that with you, especially for those who are on similar journeys currently or got similar ideas to kick off initiatives in the people talent management area. I think before we jump into the actual presentation and what we want to share with you guys, a little bit on the personal side, and we can say that Tom is the one in orange, and I'm the one in black there. Perhaps, Tom, you want to start with some history?
Yeah, we started in 2008 because we don't want to bother you with our childhood, but 2008 is also the year we worked together at Cubiks. And before I joined Cubiks, I did a lot of things, but I also took a sabbatical. So I was enjoying the sun before to start working as a consultant within Cubiks.
Yeah, and then 2009, Tom, don't take this personal. It's not because you joined the company that I left, but I thought it was time to, as I sometimes joke about it, to take a proper job and to move from being a consultant to working for a large corporate like Goodyear. And I got the opportunity to become the training and OD manager for Europe, Middle East, and Africa.
From my side, that meant that Stijn became a client instead of a colleague. So we had a different relationship, let's put it that way.
Which is still quite funny, because I still don't feel as a client in a way, and take that from the good side. But we indeed have a client-vendor relationship today. After 10 months in the job at Goodyear, my boss left. It was good and bad. The good thing was I got the job. The bad thing was I was offered the talent management job. And to be very open and honest with you, I didn't have that much experience in talent management as such. I've been seeing and observing a lot of international companies when I was working as a consultant, but I was always focused on assessment and development projects. Also, the first role at Goodyear was very much focused on training and OD, so the full talent management perspective was something quite new to me, which also allowed me to share some of the mistakes, some of the hiccups that I encountered, because I've been learning together with Goodyear when it comes to talent management. After 3 months in the job, my boss leaves again, so I'm currently dealing with a third boss at Goodyear. And this boss, who was still American, he actually moved back to the US and took a job there. And I got a new boss who joined from General Electric, which was very enlightening for me because she brought a lot of best practice and ideas. I'm sure many of you heard about General Electric. Perhaps some of you read books from Jack Welch, etc., and how he looks at talent and people management. So quite a few of the things that she was used to and she's been driving in GE is stuff that she brought to Goodyear as well. So I've learned quite a few things from her as well, and it allowed us to build our talent management story in Goodyear.
So then 2012, the year where we're in, I will have this great opportunity, and I will move actually Sunday to Dubai to manage our Middle East office for Cubiks. So back to the sun, where it started.
So Tom, got a pretty exciting journey to look forward to. We're going to jump into the presentation, all right?
Yeah.
Enough on the personal side. If you guys want to know anything more or anything else, feel free to ask at the end of the presentation. We're also very much available after this presentation for you guys to reach out to us through email or call or whatever. So we agreed with Ali that we would keep this presentation short and concise. Between 20 and 30 minutes is what we're pitching for. So we have enough time for Q&A and for some debate at the end.
Yeah. Before we really kick off, maybe a very short introduction to Cubiks, just to give you some background. We're an international assessment company which main focus on soft skills and developing soft skills. So the next slide is a good overview to make it more concrete. And I will use Goodyear as an example where we have a long-standing relationship where we use both products and services, meaning on the product side we have projects on 360, on Talent Index, which is a tool to identify top talent within the Goodyear organization. We do reasoning tests, personality questionnaire, etc. On the services side, we support Goodyear in identifying and assessing their talent pool.
Yeah, so this is the short agenda for today. We're going to focus on the last part of the presentation, by the way. What we've agreed with Ali and what we really want to talk about is, look, I'm driving talent management within Europe, Middle East, and Africa, which means that we've been designing a lot of development programs. We've been designing high potential programs. We're working hard on installing an employer branding image. We are training our managers in interviewing and selection skills, etc. So there's a lot of things that we're doing, and I want to show you first what we mean and what we do within talent management. I think that's important to make sure that we're on the same page. And then afterwards, I will tell you and I will show you how we're actually challenging our people managers to make sure that they step up their game. And why are we going to focus on that one? Because that's been one of my biggest learnings in the job now for about 2.5 years at Goodyear. You can do whatever amazing leadership program, you can do whatever coaching 360 initiative, you can invest so much in the organization and in your people and in your talents, but if you don't have the managers that are equipped to be a coach, a sponsor, a mentor of the talent that you have, that it's all going to be in vain. And we've seen that too many times. So we've had people on the most amazing programs that we've designed, high potentials. We've been sending them around the business on assignments, etc. But if day to day, the managers that they're having, the people manager who's supposed to take care of them is not really spending too much time on the individual's development, is not taking time to evaluate performance, is not picking up that coaching role, that is just not going to work. It's a two-way thing. So that's why we've decided for us it's at least equally important to challenge those people managers. And we've got about close to 2,000 in our region here, Europe, Middle East, Africa, meaning people managers who are responsible for managing other folks in the business. So we want to make sure that we bring them the basics on people management, that we challenge them on their personal leadership styles. So we went in with coaching workshops, etc. And Tom is going to share a bit about a tool that we've been using extensively at Goodyear as well to challenge people managers on their duties, almost on their responsibilities, on their leadership behaviors, and that's really about this 360 feedback concept. So I'm going to get going with talent management. This is what we mean with talent management at Goodyear. This is what we put together at some point. There was a need to define it. It was a new function at Goodyear, and we said, okay, let's put our heads together with a few senior leaders, a couple of the seasoned HR folks as well. I was quite new to the business and to talent management as such. I was facilitating and figuring out myself, what do you guys mean when you say talent management? And very much build around the employee life cycle from attract, assess, develop, motivate, and retain. And then underneath, we actually put the key processes that we believe are part of talent management. Some of it is Goodyear language, so excuse me, some of it may not make too much sense, but I'm just going to run through it quickly. So the attraction side is something we're very much tackling this year. As you may see, this is kind of my strategic plan for this year, and all the ones that are labeled as new are activities that we're heavily investing in this year as a business. So we really need to step up our game when it comes to employer branding, talent acquisition, onboarding. We've got some good things going on here and there in the region, but we have no consistent standardized approach towards the job market. We continue to feel more and more that it becomes difficult to hire engineers, for example, to hire good finance people into our business. So we need to make sure that we start spending more time and have more focus on becoming an attractive employer. Many of us believe that we're a great employer once you get to know us, but there's not too many people who know about us. People know about Goodyear. I'm sure you know that we are in tires, and we've been in tires for more than 100 years. Do we ever figure on a top 10 listing of employer of choice, or etc.? No, we don't. So that's really about time. So that's going to be my area of focus this year. In the assessment side, performance management speaks for itself, I believe. Org and talent reviews is very much around succession planning, etc. Absolutely critical. We're doing a pretty good job there. We're automating the whole succession planning. That's what I mean with talent module. It's a module that we're implementing in our latest software package that we've rolled out. So performance management automation is going to be expanded with succession planning automation, where all managers, people managers, are going to build their own succession plans, which are going to be rolled up to an EMEA succession plan, reviewed and coached by the HR folks in the business and in the countries. So that's a whole presentation as such, but just to give you some insight, that's very much part of talent management at Goodyear. The whole development umbrella is learning and development. So I've got a learning and development manager in my team, and she's very much driving this from the 70-20-10 principle. For those of you who haven't heard of this principle, which means that we focus a lot on the 70 and the 20. That's where you should have most of your learning activities going on. The 70 is very much about learning on the job. 20% is learning from others, from your colleagues, through assignments, through shadowing, through mentoring, etc. And the 10% is more of the formal learning, more kind of traditional training. So that's how we build, that's how we encourage people to build up their individual development plans, and that's how we structure our L&D. UTREX is a Goodyear invented program, and that's our high potential program for people at mid-level. So I'll share a little bit about UTREX later. And then the motivate and retain speaks for itself. And then the gray box means it's all glued together through some technology and shared leadership traits. Like GTMS is our global talent management system in which we run performance management and succession planning, for example. We have a learning management system to manage the whole training side of things, etc. Like almost any company, we're a good client of SAP, including SAP HR, which we're rolling out now, etc. The rest speaks for itself. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because we want to have our focus somewhere else. But this is kind of my strategy map for talent management, and that's what keeps me and the team busy in EMEA. An example of an important learning and development achievement. There was no structure when it comes to training and development. We put a clear structure in place, 3 buckets. So this really represents the 10% of formal training that we've installed at Goodyear. So there's training available for all associates. There's certain skills that are important to develop for anybody in our business almost. Not that you should go to all the trainings, but as long as your manager and yourself agree that this is going to be helpful, this is good for your personal development, and there's going to be a payoff for the company, then you should go. We have a manager and leader curriculum that we installed from some fundamentals that you can see underneath. And for example, coaching training and people manager lab are 2 initiatives that are really challenging managers on their people management and talent management skills, which I'll talk about later. They're installed as fundamentals, so any manager who joins the company should go through these programs. Also, anybody who gets promoted onto people management level goes through those 3 programs. And then the more you move up in the company, the more you start qualifying for other types of training that you see listed. If you're being recognized as a high potential, you can qualify for different programs. You don't nominate yourself, or your manager doesn't nominate you. You're nominated by the senior leadership to be part of that. Okay. This is another way of looking at things, looking at more details on the development ladder for managers. and the different programs, a mix between the high potential programs that we have and the more typical leadership programs that we had under the second bucket at the previous slide. What's been always critical to me is that we make sure that whatever we do in HR and talent management, we're proud of what we do, and we advertise what we do as well. So what I saw happening before is, look, we had a couple of programs, which by the way were not too structured, they're not too aligned, and we just send an Excel sheet around to people saying, look, these are the programs that we've got available. We were not really exciting people around what we had. So we put up a whole campaign across the whole region, really showing to people what this 70-20-10 principle means, for example, but also clearly showing what kind of 10% great training that we have for which you can enroll yourself. So we hired a designer, and he worked with us on a couple of kind of postcards that you find in any Goodyear office. On the back of the card, you find the details of the training. You can identify whether you would qualify or not. You find the hints and tips on the cost, etc. So this has gone down pretty well, and we're kind of doing it for any initiative that we take in talent management. We make sure that it drives engagement, it drives excitement in the organization. One other example of a program that we've launched for high potentials, part of this Utrecht program, is a shadowing application. I'm showing it because it's actually super simple and it's got high impact. So it's kind of low-hanging fruit. Let me explain you in 2 seconds how this works. I'm pretty sure nobody of you, of course, has ever been on a dating site. So I explain how a dating site works. It means that you've got people on one side that are looking for other people on the other side they'd like to get to know. The same happens here. So people are high potentials in this case are looking for a shadowing experience. So a sales guy from Dubai, for example, would love to go and explore how one of our factories is running. We don't have a factory in Saudi Arabia, so people would have to go to, for example, Germany, where we have 4 or 5 factories. So they can try and connect with somebody from Germany who's a manufacturing manager, for example, in one of our plants close to Frankfurt. And then those people can actually connect, and the individual who's going on the shadowing will have to ask for approval through the tool to his manager and the manager of the possible host. And people actually get the approval through the system, and they go. So this is an easy site. This is a very easy to use site where people who would like to go and experience another job for a few days can look for people who are open to be shadowed, and they can connect through the platform. So a very impactful tool that we're using as part of our Utrecht program, and that is very much tapping into the 20% of the 70-20-10 learning principle. This is where you go and learn from others. So this is no expensive training. This is no rocket science. But we offer you the opportunity to get out of your comfort zone, to get out of your day-to-day experience, and to go and experience a job somewhere else in the business for a few days, really with the intention to give you a broader picture of the business. And who knows, perhaps your next assignment could be in a totally different function within Goodyear. And these are all people that have been identified as possible future leaders. So making sure that we give them a broader perspective of the business is crucial. So that's one of the initiatives that I wanted to highlight, which was quite innovative and which is now part of our L&D offering. We now got to the most important part of the presentation. I've shown you our strategy. I've shown you what we've been doing in certain programs, what we're driving. Now the key thing is, coming back to the initial business case, it is important that we continue to challenge these people managers on their behavior and how they're supposed to manage people. I've been meeting too many people who just didn't have a clue how to have a conversation about performance, how to evaluate somebody's performance, how to have a basic coaching dialogue with an individual. Goodyear, for a long time, has been very much on the command and control type of leadership style. I tell you what to do, I direct you what to do, you execute, and we'll be good friends. And if you're very loyal and hardworking, then there's going to be a career for you at some point. But look, the world has changed, and that's not the way people enjoy to be treated or to be managed these days, for good reasons, I would say. We still have some of that behavior in our business, so we're very keen on changing that. It's a key differentiator to try and retain our talent and to develop them the best possible way. So a few initiatives that we've taken. Coaching, for example, we've gone out to all managers in the business, and we've been training 1,900 people in coaching skills, including some of our high potential groups. We've been using the growth model for that, which is a pretty common model when it comes to coaching. Again, if you'd like more details, feel free to reach out to myself. I know Tom has also done a lot of work on coaching here at Cubiks and around the growth model, so he can provide input. The key differentiator here was that we've done action learning sets as a follow-up. So not just the 2 days and look back to the business. No, people were forced to come together again 4 times every month or every 2 months and to share their learning. They had to put the coaching techniques into practice and really share what was going well, what was difficult, what were the challenges, etc. And we put, again, a very exciting communication campaign. We were announcing the Coach of the Month. People could send in their coaching case studies, and we were selecting the most interesting case study. That individual got a lot of publicity. He was on our intranet with an interview. We've printed like 5,000 door hangers, like you find in hotels, like "Don't Disturb," and we put like coaching in progress, please do not disturb, and we hang it up in all the Goodyear offices to kind of give a nice buzz to this coaching project. So that was the first initiative. And it made clear to people that we're on a path, on a journey of change, and that our preferred leadership style is much more leaning towards coaching instead of direct style and command control.
Actually, a very good alternative to coaching, as it could be expensive, and now I'm talking against my own shop because I earn my money in coaching leaders, is the idea of peer coaching, where you're working in pairs and each participant acts both as a coach and a coachee. And so you create a more collaborative leadership style, you don't work in silos, etc. So all kind of advantages. It's very cheap. On an executive level, because sometimes executives are pretty isolated in the company, the idea of intercompany coaching is actually a very good idea, and I get very excited about the idea. Where you can level, where you can exchange best practices, and where you can coach each other and learn a lot. Especially among different cultures, it's a lot of added value. Now, Stijn will talk a bit about another project, which is the People Manager Lab they create within Goodyear.
Yeah, so that's one other initiative that we've taken besides the coaching. Actually, the coaching has gone live first. And what we've noticed during the coaching rollout is that coaching is actually even a bit of a stretch for some people. Why is it a stretch? Because actually they're lacking some of the basics. Coaching is a pretty sophisticated, advanced skill. It's not easy to master. It may sound easy. If you look at the GROW model, very simple steps. Actually putting it into practice is not that easy, especially if you're lacking some pure key basic knowledge on, for example, how to evaluate somebody's performance, how to look at succession planning, how do I identify successors for people in my team who may move on, who may leave, how do I put a development plan in place for those people, how can I manage expectations of people, how do I deal with people who are not performing, what's the action I take. If you ask those questions to our people managers, you get very diverse answers. And you get very worrying answers as well. Some people just don't have a clue. So we wanted to make sure that we set a certain baseline. So we put together an initiative, a training initiative that was really bringing the basics on people management to this community. Now you can imagine if you're going to phone some of your people managers and say, guys, we're going to put you all on the training with regards to people management basics. There may be some, or there may be plenty even, that don't react too excited. And they're going to tell you, like, look, we've got so many other things to do. Please don't bother us with that kind of stuff. So that's what we anticipated. So we said, okay, let's try to come up with the most creative way of bringing this people management concept to this audience. So we went for an online business game. There's much going on currently in the learning and development industry around gamification, which means that you bring concepts and trainings in a way that it kind of feels like a game you're playing. What we've done here, we've developed a game where you are going to manage a virtual team as a people manager in a virtual country called Goodyear, Thailand, and your team is going to run into all kinds of issues. So somebody's going to be demotivated, you need to take an action. Somebody may leave the team, you need to hire a new person. You need to do a performance evaluation of somebody, etc. So much of the game happens online with multiple choice. So it's right or wrong, and you're in competition with other people managers from Goodyear. But some things also happen offline. So there's some practices, some exercises that we do in the classroom. So it's a nice combination between online game, but we still have the offline component as well. There's a trainer in the room when you do the game. So there's this regular debrief. So I really enjoyed running this project. It's putting L&D at a different level. It's pretty cool for the engagement and the excitement around the training initiative, and I truly believe it's more impactful than pure traditional classical training. I definitely don't advocate that e-learning and e-learning only is the future of learning, but a good balance, a good combination between an exciting, innovative approach like this one and great facilitators and trainers on the other hand is just perfect. So that's another initiative that we're rolling out right now, and which is again making sure that bottom line, all the initiatives that we're taking in talent management, all the great learning programs, all the succession planning that we do centrally, all the assignments that we put people on, that they're going to be successful because those people are being managed by people managers that know what they're doing, and people managers that are aware of all of these talent management initiatives as well. So, Tom, you're going to talk a few more minutes, I believe, on 360, which is another highly impactful tool that you can use to challenge people managers on their behavior.
Exactly, and in order to have a real impact on your development as a people manager, you need to have a multiple dimensional approach. What do I mean by that? A multiple dimensional approach always starts with the awareness, and that is self-awareness. Not only self-awareness about yourself as an individual, but also awareness about your own team, awareness about your organization. So one of the tools, and it's actually one of my favorite tools, but you have to use it in the right way, is the 360 feedback. And what I want to do is to share you some good practices, but also some bad practices. So I want to start with some bad practice, but before that I want to give you a bit of history for those who are not familiar with the 360. It actually started in the military with the US, and during the World War II, Germany had the concept of incorporating the direct reports into the 360, which was quite revolutionary. Then ASSO kicked off, but it became really famous with Jack Welch, probably you all know him, who used the 360 as a tool for appraisals. So what he did was he pointed the top 10% as talent, where he invested a lot of money in, but the bottom line 10%, he wanted to make these people redundant each year, each time, for each manager. Now it's sometimes a hype, the use of a 360, and almost 90% of all Fortune 500 companies are using it. Yeah. So I want to give you two examples of one of our clients that used 360 in a wrong way. Of course, I'm not going to tell you the name of that company, but one company used it as an appraisal tool. And in order to use it as an appraisal tool, you need to have an open feedback culture, and you have used the 360 previously as a development tool, which is a totally different aspect of a 360. So what are the contrasts of using 360 as an appraisal tool? First of all, it's very time consuming, but it's what he has stated: if you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. So if you tell your peers, we don't want to be part of the 10 bottom line, I will rate you high and you rate me high. So the use of the tool and the credibility of the tool get lost. On top of that, if you use both appraisal tool and development tool, you use the value of the development tool because nobody believes in the tool. On top of that, if you use 360 as an appraisal tool and it's used only as a standalone tool, that means there is no follow-up, it's not part of a program, it doesn't make any sense at all. On the other side, there are some pros, because the appraisal is done by your manager only. So now you have a 360 view on not only your manager, because some people are very good in let's say, managing their manager, but less good in their people management skills. So you take that part on board, which is very positive. And it's a very strong motivator to work on the key competencies defined in your company. Yep. But like I said before, open feedback is key, and that's the second example of a failure I want to give. And it's one of our clients who is a big European institution where they don't have an open feedback culture at all. So people, they don't give negative feedback. They don't have performance systems in place. But they absolutely wanted to start with a 360 because that was the hype at the moment, and they wanted to do it. We decided to go ahead with them, but at the end, to be very honest, it wasn't a success at all, because you had all excellent scores or all central tendency scores, so you get all kind of averages or high scores, no low ratings at all. The quality of the facilitators is also very important, was poor, and there was kind of witch hunting, which people can try to see in the open text feedback, who said who and who I will blame. So second failure. There we used as an alternative an ipsative version of a 360. Ipsative version is a forced choice kind of questionnaire that we also use within Goodyear, but within Goodyear they can choose, manager can choose between a classical rating version, what we call the scale version, where you rate 1 to 5, good, bad, and an ipsative version. Ipsative version has the advantage that it's much less threatening, and you have to select, and you have to make a forced choice between strengths and development needs, as here is in the picture. So you have to make a selection first, and secondly you have to rank in order strengths and in order of the development needs. So this is a new way of looking at the 360, which for some companies is very useful.
Well, just a side comment, we at Goodyear liked it very much. It's extremely pragmatic. 360 questionnaires may be very, very lengthy. 360, just to make sure that all of you guys understand the basic concept of 360 is you're being evaluated by people with whom you work on a frequent basis, your boss, your peers, your direct reports. If they all have to complete a lengthy questionnaire, sometimes there may be some questionnaire fatigue in a company. So this kind of drag and drop 360 where you see a list of competencies, you think about the person and you drop them into the strengths and development needs buckets, is a very pragmatic way, very helpful. What you do lose is some of the detail. So you drag and drop at competency level. If you complete a lengthy questionnaire, you have a number of indicators by competency, and you get more detail. But sometimes you don't get the detail you like because people are just fed up completing questionnaires. If that's the case, if the company has a very pragmatic culture, then that drag and drop 360 is very quick and very pragmatic and very helpful.
Yeah. So there are some advantages and disadvantages, of course. For those of you who are maybe planning to start with a 360, I put a list of best practices that you have to keep in mind before launching a 360. I'm not going to read them all, but some are very important. For example, timing. Some companies started a 360 during a merge, so nobody trusted and nobody wanted to rate. Quality of the feedback is very important. Some companies don't even organize a facilitating session after getting the result of the 360, so that's also very important. And also the communication it should be part of a program. It should be communicated, so you have to think a lot how to organize a 360 before you launch it. Now the last part of the presentation I want to do is a lot of these programs to develop people managers are sometimes hard to measure. Now Cubiks developed a tool, what we call the 720, to measure the return on investment. So after a year, so after the first launch of a 360, the second year you organize the same 360 and you compare the results. So you can easily see, okay, is this guy did he work on it, and did it get some results? Is he improving on certain competencies or not, which is also possible. But it's a good way to measure the impact of a 360 or the impact of all kind of development programs you organize within the organization. For example, People Lab, or shadowing programs or whatever.
Yeah. I think it's a good example. I hope Tom allows me, one critical note from a client perspective is what you do find as well in reality is that some people who are rating the individual, their expectations have gone up. What you find sometimes that a rating has gone down, and then you wonder, okay, for example, this guy's coaching and developing others competency seems to have going down even instead of going up, and we've put him on coaching training and he's really making an effort. But it could be that the expectations of the people that he's managing have gone up even higher than the progress that he's been able to make in those 12 months. So it's a good measurement. It's not always a one-on-one. There may be some noise on the results which you have to kind of clarify, identify, depending on in the end, this is a perception-based tool, and if your direct reports had high hopes that you would become the super manager because they knew that you've been put onto all of these fancy programs, then that may just not be reflected in the 360 or the 70-20 result.
Yeah. Also, all your direct reports should be the same, or almost you couldn't change too much, otherwise you have a totally different picture. So you have to take these nuances into account, of course. So that's the end of our presentation. Ali, I think you can open the lines now for some Q&A that we are more than happy to answer. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you very much, Mr.Stijn. Folks, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. There's a hand icon on your webinar console. You can raise your hand and I'll give you an opportunity to speak to them. Meanwhile, I think there's a lot of interest as I've been receiving a lot of questions. I can start reading one by one. God, there's so many of them. There's one from Brother Khalid.
Ali, if you could.
Yeah, Shine, are you saying something?
Well, I was just basically cracking a joke. If you could just ignore the questions from the people working for Pirelli, Continental, and Michelin, that would be very nice.
Okay. All right.
Competitors.
Yeah. There's okay. There's the first one I read is on the gamification. I think, Stein, you mentioned. The question is from Brother Khalid, who has asked, how has been your experience in encouraging or motivating managers and executives to come online and log in to interact with the game or quiz?
Good question.
With regard to the People Manager Lab game?
Yeah, on the gamification, I think. Like how's been the experience to encourage people to log in fact, or to motivate them?
Yeah, good question. First of all, there's been a clear buy-in at the top level. So I've put together a video together with our president for the region, who is clearly stating that for him this is a very important initiative and that he would be the first one to go through this, which he actually did. So I had great material in my hands to send around the business to get the attention from people managers. That was very helpful. And we started a top-down approach, so the top teams have gone through it first. And most of them enjoyed it. So they've been ambassadors for, again, the people reporting into them. It was a mandatory initiative, so actually people couldn't choose. I mean, they had to get this done. They had to attend at least one during a given year, and we still haven't finished. And we divided the game into two pieces. So one part is a very short theory part, which they can complete from home or from the office before we actually come together. That's a mandatory piece. If you haven't done that, you actually don't join the classroom training. Once you've done that, you can join the classroom and you actually play the real game together with one of your buddies in the classroom, and you play for half an hour. We take a break, we debrief, and we continue the game. So we don't have too much issues. I mean, to be honest, there's always skepticism if you invite people for kind of a mandatory training. And people tell you like, look, I've seen this before, I know this, etc. But I must say that we got more interest and more people being, I'd say curious is the good word, about this training, because they've heard from others that this was a new concept, it was innovative, and it was not just the typical formal classical training that they were used to.
But having sponsorship from your key leader is key for any program you launch, in my opinion.
Okay, all right. I think we have some hands been raised also. Let me try to unmute. There's a question from Mr. Mr. Khan, Junaid Khan. Can you hear us? Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Khan, could you please introduce yourself and feel free to ask a question?
Yeah, myself Junaid Mohammed Khan. I am finance manager in Aversion Investment Group, a subsidiary of it, as working as Aversion printing company.
Yes, Mr. Khan.
I am originally from India and working in Saudi Arabia for last 15 years almost, and with Aversion company for last 7 years.
Okay, Mr. Khan. Glad to have you. Could you please ask the question?
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Khan, we can hear you. Could you please ask the question?
First of all, I just missed the very initial part of the presentation for 5 minutes because it was a prayer time here. I was praying, and when I came, so it was already started. But I got at least 90% of the presentation. So, but let me put my question first. Actually, I am working here as finance manager, and especially what I am facing as a problem to play a role of finance manager, maintaining a balance between my team, accounting team, and the top management or HR, you can say, because seeing the growth of Saudi Arabia, and especially the company where I am working, Aversion Investment Group, it's a big company growing very fast, at least at a rate of 15 to 20% every year. The main focus of our top management is to save the money, give a good output from the curtailing down the cost, and work pressure is too much on the team, and it is very difficult for us in Saudi Arabia to getting the right person in place, because it is very competitive. People are not staying, they are getting offers. So retaining good people with us, even getting good people for us, then retaining there with increasing pressure of work, because as a manager, what I'm facing, that I have to control the overtime also, I have to cut the costs, I have to provide and meet the pace of the growth, but still and with the less number of people even. So there is a big challenge of retaining good people, bringing them in and getting the maximum output from them, still keeping the lowest cost. So what you can suggest me as a manager, what I can do to make a good balance between my top management expectations and my peers' expectations? Am I clear?
Very clear.
Yes, very clear, very clear.
That's a classical problem.
That is I think the emerging market is it's an issue which I think a lot of companies are facing in Saudi also. So I think it would be nice to receive your feedback or views on it. Stijn and Tom.
Yeah, let me give some first feedback. Is I think for these kind of issues, to be honest, you almost need to take them offline and spend a couple of hours to discuss the environment, situation, the type of leadership that you're experiencing, the culture that you're working in. So it does seem that environment and culture are not really working in your favor, the least you can say. There's the focus on costs. There's not too much investment in people as it sounds. So the only
actually I can say that management understands these problems, that there is a lack of good people, and retaining them is also, but there is a pressure on curtailing down the cost, keeping this the cost within the budget, even making good margins, and still pressure results. Believe me, our teams are working on 10 to 12 hours every day, even on weekends, but still the top management, especially our general managers and all, they say why overtime is high and we have to keep in control like this. So, and they understand. Once we sit together, they understand. Just we understand the problem, but you have to keep the balance. We have to keep the control on cost, like that.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. I think the only thing you can do is do anything which is in your power and under your control. You are their coach, you are their motivator, their sponsor, etc. So there's quite a few things you can do to motivate your team. I know a lot of research has shown that why do people leave a company is very often because of their manager, not necessarily because of the company as such. Now, I have to be honest, when I listen to this, it's not an easy job for you. So you got quite a few challenges there, and you may not necessarily get the support that you would expect to make sure that you're able to do a great job on retention and motivating people. I think you need to do whatever you can as possible and try to give people some kind of perspective. And I'm sorry to stay high level on this, but challenging your leadership will probably be part of it. Sometimes people only learn the hard way. If you're going to lose one of your top talents, I would say, I really hope it doesn't happen, but I would really use that case, and it happened at Goodyear as well, that we can only start challenging people really when they learn the hard way, when they lost the key talents, and then we sit down and say, look, what happened here? What did we do wrong for this person to leave the company, a person in which we had so much belief, a person that was spotted as a future leader, and there you have a better argument saying, look, it's definitely not just me here. I've done my best. I've been coaching and managing my people, but we have to kind of create the environment for talent as well. So I would look for leverage. I would look for opportunities where you could challenge your leadership, hopefully not the hard way, perhaps other ways, or associate engagement surveys that you may do. You may do a survey with your team to find out about satisfaction, etc. It's something that you can share with your management in terms of, look, this. So these are just a couple of initial thoughts that I have from my experience at Goodyear. You're definitely not an isolated case. I know there are many managers fighting this battle and trying to strike the balance between keeping the business running, achieving results, and keeping their teams motivated and giving perspective. So thank you very much for the good question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Khan. Just move to some sort of a similar question. I had read it in the chat question.
Yeah.
So, Junaid, you have any supplementary, or we can move to the next question?
It's okay. It's okay. I think yes, there needs to be a few changes, and I have to be a part of those people who have to contribute to bring those changes. But it will take some time because market is like that, and we have to struggle a little bit. But patience is key. I think this. I take the suggestion from the gentleman.
Absolutely.
And I'll try to implement in my area.
Yeah, and we thank you for posing this question on the forum. Thank you very much, Junaid.
Thank you.
You too. There was an interesting question, somewhat similar, by brother Mustafa, who's asked, is there a difference between an ideal job profile and the real profile? How do we really read the mind of the reporting line managers to understand what he or she is actually looking for than comparing the assessment through just a job description only?
Sorry, I'm not sure that I understood the question.
I think the question is basically, let me try to also understand, what I understood the crux is, normally you have this job description written which is coming mostly in most of the organization through the mind of the line manager. Is there any constructive way to sort of strike a job profile for the requirements?
Yeah. Defining a job profile is, in my opinion, key before assessing people. And that means you should put a lot of effort and time in it to do so. Starting from your organizational strategy, your vision, and then look at your team, which kind of competencies you have, what are the gaps, where do we need complementary skills, but also look at your own management style to see if people feel comfortable and happy with your management style. So you should involve a lot of people before you do the actual job profiling exercise, where you have a certain set of key competencies very typical for your own organization, but then you should look into the specific team and the specific individual management style.
Yeah, and a short addition to that, for example, at Goodyear, we have generic job descriptions for any role almost that we have in a company, but as Tom is saying, that's not sufficient. It's a good baseline to start from, but every time you're hiring somebody, I mean, you're also hiring a certain personality, you're hiring somebody with certain experience, etc. You need to make sure that there's going to be a match between the leader and the individual that is going to take the job. So a job description, good baseline, but not sufficient. And that's where I know, for example, looking at Cubiks, they've got tools to kind of profile the ideal personality of a candidate, for example, which gives you more perspective. I mean, are we looking for somebody with high attention to detail or not, with a certain sociability or extrovertness, etc. It's important to get additional grip. The more grip you can get, yeah, the better you secure a good working relationship and a successful employee once he gets onboarded into the company. So good question. Don't underestimate, and I see it happening in reality, that if we don't do it well, if we don't scope the job well, have the job description customized, that we do fail in the hiring process.
Yeah, that's the start.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
I guess it was in the question box. I think let me move on. Tom, there are so many others, and we have only 5 minutes left. So let me try to move on to Mr. Ahmed Al-Jazari. Mr. Ahmed Al-Jazari, I understand you have a question. You have also posted in the chat box. You would like to speak up, or you want me to read? Mr. Al-Jazari. Okay, I think he had raised a hand as well. So let me read it for you. The question, okay, he has mentioned, please read it. What do you suggest for newly founded companies to attract talent, especially that they would usually be looking for more established and larger companies?
Yeah, that's also part of personality. I mean, some real talents are very attracted by innovation, by entrepreneurship. So there are definitely a lot of people around that are very keen on start to work for a rather smaller company where they have impact, where they have empowerment, where they can innovate, where they can entrepreneur, rather than working for a big settled company. Now the question is, of course, how you're going to attract these people, how they're going to know that's employer branding, and yeah, that's the positioning of your own company. So,
and I think also very much through referral. If you don't have much of a brand, to be honest, and you may be surprised, but Goodyear doesn't have much of a brand when it comes to being an employer, not enough. So the way we get our people is very much through referral, through networks, through LinkedIn, etc. That's how we find our people. So I would say that could work for a startup which is pretty unknown to anybody. I mean, it's about convincing people to come and work for you. And there's definitely enough people on the market who are absolutely excited to go and work for an entrepreneurial company with all the good things that it may bring, like flexibility, like the sky's the limit, working as a team, conquering the world together. But you may immediately want to attract some people that work for more established firms to also bring in the stability and bringing some of the structure that you're trying to build. That's where also the comp and bench side is going to be important, and you need to start considering share options, etc., to give people also a financial incentive to be part of a growing business where you may not immediately be able to offer the salary they had at an established firm, but they have the perspective of a salary which may be even more attractive on the long term because they're actually part of it. They're part of the adventure. They're part of the growth of the company. So that very good question again. Thank you for sharing.
All right. I think there were some couple of questions on the employer branding, so I rather quit because I think you have pretty much answered it. Let me move on to, there was a question from Brother Samir who's asking, what would you recommend how to manage the talent which is on the verge of exit from the firm, especially when it comes to dealing with the emotional trauma of employees who are afraid to get retired, and what impact it leaves on other staff members?
Yeah, you mean the impact of people that are leaving the company, the impact on other people, other employees in the company?
Yeah, I think the question is perhaps what I understood is mostly the people who are on the verge of retirement and they're afraid to get retired, and then you have to deal with them through an emotional trauma at times, and it may have an impact on other staffs when they see it.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I mean, letting people go or people who leave the company.
Yeah, I think in general we could talk about
some people that has it.
Yeah. Or even, I mean, you could
indeed,
on the broader note, it could cover the layoffs as well, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can say that some people, their impact of leaving is massive on the business because they're being looked at as somebody who was loyal to the company, who's always been part of it, somebody that people looked up to as a role model as well. So it's very difficult to generalize, but I can tell you that if you lose an A player in your business, it's going to hurt your business so much more than losing a B or a C player, not just for the actual output of work that they're able to do, but especially because you lose them in terms of role model, in terms of somebody who pulls others to a higher level. So we've seen that over and over again in our business. So that's kind of my first feedback. Luckily, I haven't gone through a large round of layoffs yet at Goodyear. I also hope that it's not going to happen to me anytime soon. I know that happened just before I joined when we got into the 2008 crisis, for example, which was emotionally very, very difficult to let people go and to decide on who goes and who stays, especially with the almost scary effect of what happened a year later is that the economy bounced back up big time, much faster than we ever anticipated. So we almost just let go of the last one, and the next day we had to start hiring again, which was really killing us in terms of an employer perspective. Employees were looking at us like, are you kidding us? I mean, you just done all of these efforts to get rid of people, and now the next day you're going to start hiring again. But it was so difficult to predict how long that crisis would take that we had no clue that would actually happen. It was definitely not good for the engagement in the factories, I can tell you, and we're still suffering from that. So people lose some kind of trust in their employer because they know that anything can happen, and they do believe that you're not really thinking long term. We try to do that, but in a very volatile economy, it is extremely difficult.
Yeah, you have lot of research about it, and they did some research about attracting talent in a downturn economy, and on the long term, these are the most successful companies. Of course, I know you have the pressure of the short term and your shareholders, so that's easy to say. But on the long term, you should think about it.
Okay, there's another one interesting, but let me see. Okay, yeah, this is one. It's from Brother Ahmed. It's is asking, most of the available tools on psychometric programs are designed and developed in the Western world. Do you feel they could equally be applicable in the Middle East when they have no proper concrete cultural norm assessments data available?
Yeah, definitely. Or I speak for myself. Cubiks developed a lot of tools that are used in the Middle East.
Groups and local proven testing, once that's in place, it does work. I mean, and what makes up an individual's personality, and that's key, is not different in Saudi Arabia than it would be in Western Europe or in the US or Latin America. You talk about, is somebody extrovert or introvert? You talk about, does someone have a tendency to be a leader, and is he excited by that or not? Is somebody has attention to detail or not? These are some key factors that are just that makes up people's personality at work. Whether you're in somewhere else, those are going to be key factors to look at. We need to keep in mind that use of local benchmarks and norm groups is critical to kind of screen out the local cultural component, right?
Exactly. Now we go back to the job profiling. That's also key because, of course, maybe the leadership style you need to be successful is different in Saudi Arabia than in anywhere in the Western world. So that you have to define upfront, but that you can easily get out of a psychometric tool.
Okay. So I think we have a lot of people who've joined in the second part, and they're also asking for little briefs, which folks would not be able to give the brief right now, but let me tell you all that this webinar is being recorded and it will be uploaded on our blog, and I shall send you all the link. So, but let me quickly move to another question on a 360 degree, which I read by Brother Naveed. Can you do a 360 degree through anonymity? I think it is done, but it's an open, right? Tom or Stein? 360 degree.
Sure.
I mean, I think they're asking that 360 degree, is it done through anonymity, or is it an open shared feedback?
Yeah, that's key. That's very important. You should. The only non-anonymous is the manager. So the manager, you can clearly see if you're reviewed in a 360. You can clearly see the ratings of your boss, but all the rest, peers, direct reports, should be anonymous.
Okay.
If it isn't, the tool is useless.
Okay, all right. There is a supplementary on it also, as the questions posed is on the 720 degree. How do you measure the impact against any skill set? I think you did mention somewhere in your slide that the 720 degree actually does the measurement for on the impact.
Yeah, so you use the same set of skills and competencies. For example, coaching someone. You have a certain score in 2012. You do the same exercise in 2013, and then you can see the gap or the delta.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Or I guess yeah, it does. It does to me. I mean.
Okay.
Okay, we have. Let me try to unmute Mr. Haytham here. Mr. Haytham here, can you hear us? Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, Mr. Khair, I understand you have a question. Could you please just speak and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello. Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry for being late to attend this session. My question is, we in Sudan still have a biggest challenge to build the culture of talent management. I would ask about what the practical ways to start build this culture in Sudan.
Did I hear correctly? How to start a talent management program? Yeah. Is that your question?
Yeah.
Yeah? I think Stan definitely can answer that one.
Yeah. How to start a talent management program? We would have to go into.
Yeah, I think you missed the initial part of the presentation, but I think he's more asking about developing the culture on the talent management within the organization.
Okay.
Yeah. I would love again to hear more about the company that you're working for, but I know we don't have the time for it because it depends on the culture that you currently have. It depends on your leadership, like Tom was already saying. Getting a buy-in for this, I mean, not even buy-in, actually getting the ask from your leadership to go and do this is absolutely crucial. They need to see the need for it. Now, typically, what's the strongest business case is your succession planning. If you're going to look at your succession plan and you install that process, and you'll probably see that I mean, if you do not have any established L&D or you don't have much talent management going on, etc., if you then start off with succession planning, that will probably show you that not too many people have actually thought through how successors should be identified for certain positions. They will figure out that nobody is really actually developing these people in a structured way. So succession planning is often an eye-opener for senior leadership. If you don't get your succession planning right, don't get it supported with the right programs and right developments, your business is really at risk. If you may be losing people and you're not able to replace them, if you're not developing the leaders of the future, then your business is at risk. And even more today than it was a couple of years ago, for a few simple reasons. There's a growing lack of talent, even on the global labor markets, even in a crisis. And people, especially good people, talented people, they're globally employable, so they can go anywhere. Once they speak English, I mean, they can apply for any job at any company almost. So it's difficult to keep talent. You need to make sure that you got the right programs to motivate them, to develop them, to excite them. That's one element. But you need the same programs to make sure that you develop them as leaders for your business for the future. So that's kind of a first ideas, first suggestions, talking from the reality that I've seen at Goodyear.
What I want to add there is it shouldn't cost a lot of money. You have very simple programs like the shadowing program, like peer coaching, that doesn't cost a lot. So I think that's a good start if they don't want to invest a lot of money, and then build it up gradually.
Yeah, and don't try to conquer the whole world at once. Don't try and launch 10 different programs and initiatives. Pick your battles, I would say. Pick the quick wins, the low-hanging fruits, like kick off a leadership development program. Look at identification of high potentials. Put up a basic program for high potentials where they do feel recognized and more special, etc. That's a good start. If you look at the whole talent management and what talent management is supposed to do and how you connect the dots, which I shared as a starter presentation, which I'm sure you can download and look at later, that's a lot to achieve. I mean, you don't get that done in 1 year. So that's another advice. Almost may sound very basic and common sense, but it's one of the things that we encountered as well. We were a little too enthusiastic at the beginning. If you launch too many things at the same time, it's too much to digest for managers and leaders in the business.
Well, thank you. Maitam, I hope the answers was clear enough. Anyhow, folks, we are receiving a lot of questions again in the chat box, but I think we are running out of the time. But let me tell you all, this webinar is being recorded and it will be uploaded on our blog. So that really brings towards the end of our webinar. I would like to thank Mr.Stijn De Groef and Tom Berberman for the wonderful webinar tonight and for the willingness to share this valuable information and their experiences with our participants. Also to thanks to all of you who participated. We are glad you could join us today and I hope the session was helpful for you. As I mentioned earlier, we will be emailing you the link to a recorded version of this webinar in a couple of days when it's uploaded on our blog. Note, we are having a few programs which are being rolled out, and our other upcoming high impact programs in year 2012 on high performance telecom HPT program for advanced leadership and management PALM4 and high performance governments HPG2 are currently accepting applications for enrollment and selection. Please do visit our website www.mile.org to get more details about these programs. And once again, I would like to thank Stijn and Tom, and thank you everyone for your participation. And you all have a good day. Tom and Stijn and everyone, I will be ending this webinar now, and everybody will be automatically dismissed out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you once again. Thank you all.